Hello and welcome to the channel. So we've got the television tube amp back up here and we're going to make a few tweaks to it. I've decided to call it the TV508. I think that's a suitable name for it, and I'm going to have a badge made to go on the front of that Black Star cabinet at some point. So I've made a few changes on this amp already, and found over Christmas, when I was playing it and into the new year, it was very bassy. So I started looking at the circuit. So the first thing I looked at was this morph control. Now in the book we got a 470 nanofarad which was blocking the DC onto the pot, and we got a 0.100 nanofarad for the screen cap to ground screen capacitor. Now apparently it says in the book that the capacitor blocking the DC has to be 5 times more than the screen to ground capacitor. So 470 nanofarad, that was a lot, and I decided to change that. So what I've done, I've put a 22 in here now, which is there, and I've put a 0.1 instead of the 470, so we've still roughly scaled the same 5 times. So that's made the amp, it's still bassy, but it's made it's less bassy now, and it's also just a lot clearer, less muddy. So that worked very well. So we did that. There's something else that I did as well. I can't remember what it was. It eludes me for the moment. But what we're going to do is make some more changes. So I'm going to drop the cathode capacitor on the pentode of the PCF80 to 3. I'm going to increase it. Sorry, this will drop the gain a bit. I'm going to increase that to 3.3K. just to see if it gives me a tad more headroom. And we're going to fit a presence control onto this amp as well. Now to fit that, and I'll be honest, I looked at fitting, what was the best way to fit a presence control to this, and I finished up on Rob Robinette's website, and there's some very useful information on there, very useful indeed. So I've looked at that, and we've come up with a suitable way of doing the presence control, and I've ordered the parts. I've ordered a Cornell Dublier silver mica capacitor to replace this 200 picofarad that we got on here. Remember, we hadn't got anything around 250. The Cornell Dublier is 220 because that's a ceramic. So I want to get rid of that and put the mica in there. So that's arrived today. This is a 0.01 which is coming off the phase inverter, and I made that up with two 500 picofarad ceramics in parallel because again I didn't have a 0.1. So I think I'm going to change that for a polycap. Now this, we'll have a look, we'll change a few bits, and then we'll have a look at the way we're going to do this presence control, because obviously presence is part of the negative feedback, so we're going to have to change quite a bit of the negative feedback for the presence control. So we'll be doing that. Now we've also, and if you saw the post I put up on community, we've also got some Mullard tubes, and I've got 7 of these PL508s, and I bought these from Billington Audio, and Billington Audio sells some excellent tubes. So if we just have a look there, so we're going to try a set of these in there. Now those Mazdas that are in it are pretty well matched, in fact they're really well matched, which was just sheer luck. So I'm just going, don't suppose I'm going to be that lucky with these, but you never know. And these, you can see the date code on there, and these are, I don't know whether this is 68 or 78, gives you a choice of 3 for that code. So this logo changed at some point. Some of you guys know far more about these than I do. So if you look at the box, the style of the box and so on, these tubes came out in 1966. That was the first iteration of them, and they did make them into the 70s, I think, but not sure on that one. So anybody knows in the comments, the date code is either 1968 or 1978, and these are made in the Blackburn factory. So those are going in it. We're going to test a pair of those, and we've got quite a few. Now I have got some more 508s coming as well, which are Phillips ones. So I had a bit of a look online earlier, and if this amp's 15 watts, so let's just assume I'd built this amp normally 6.3 volts twos, we'd either be putting 6v6s in it or EL84s. So I looked up how much a pair of Mullard new old stock EL84s would be, and they came to a staggering amount of money indeed, nearly 100 quid, so £100. So how much did these cost me? These cost me £6.50 each. £6.50. So £13 for the pair of tubes. The transformer to run the filaments on these tubes and the others cost me about £21, I think, something like that, maybe a shade more. So you can see where I'm going with this, that this is really worth doing with these tubes. This is where this amp was an experiment, you know, to see how good we'd get these tubes. The preamp tubes I'd used before, these tubes have just turned out to be really, really good. So for £6.50, set a new old stock Mullard, £6.50 each, so £13 for a duo of those. And of course, you only pay for the transformer once, unless of course it blows. Sorry, I'm going to flick that on there. So you only pay for the transformer once. So let's just say 3 or 4 years down the line, you decide to retube it. You buy a few new old stock tubes, you're putting them back in, it's costing you 13 quid again. So it's for nothing. For me, this just seems the way to go. If I went and bought a couple of JJs to go in this, it'd cost me nearly 50 quid with the postage. So yeah, and obviously new old stock Mullards and JJs, I'm sorry, but there's no contest there. Anyway, enough of that waffling. Let's get on and do a few bits and bobs, and then we'll get this rigged up and have a listen. Now I've drawn out the schematic for this amp. It's almost finished, and we're going to go through that schematic and have a look and have a detailed look. Now when we've been through the schematic, it will be available to download online, and you could just go there and download it. I'm not, you know, I'm not one of these guys, oh, I've designed an amp, I share the schematic. I've not got an issue with that. So you know, anybody who wants the schematic, they're welcome to download it, more than welcome. And obviously I shall be making maybe slight changes to that as we go on, trying to, if we can get this amp to be better. But basically the schematic, once this is done, this modding's done, basically that'll be the schematic, which is why I've not put the schematic up yet, because technically the amp's not quite finished. Right, so I've fitted that poly in there, and I've lost the doublier. Don't know where, it's not in the bag with the rest of the bits that I ordered, so I don't know. But I've been rooting round, and I found these on my desk, funnily enough. 270 picofarad at 100 volts. So what's coming off the plate of that PCF80? So here's the capacitor here for the treble, 85.9 volts. So I'm onto a winner with those, so I'm going to put one of those in because they're really nice caps. So that'll do for that. Problem solved, and we'll find the doublier later. It's doubliered off somewhere, but I'm a plank for losing things, because I'm a plank.
So this is the presence control that we're going to be using on here, and this is Rob Robinette's website, and this is a fantastic website. There's so much information on here, and I thought I'd use this and just give this website a push online. So we've got negative feedback tail resistor here, 47 ohms, which is what we've got in the amp at the moment. And there's a ratio here between the negative feedback tail resistor and the negative feedback resistor, which is 17.4. So the tail resistor is now going from 47 to 4.7k, and we can see that here. We've got the resistor here, 4.7k. So 4.7k times 17.4 is 82k, and that's now what our negative feedback resistor's got to be. So now we've got 4.7k here, and we're going to have 82k on the negative feedback. So since the presence control adds 4.7k of tail resistance to the phase inverter, we need to decrease that on the tail resistor for the phase inverter from 22 to 18k. So if we look here, we've now increased the negative feedback resistor to 82k, and we've reduced the 22k tail resistor to the phase inverter. You can see the phase inverter circuitry here, that's now 18k on the amp. So we've just got to reduce those the same because we've copied this phase inverter circuit.
So, right, we've got our presence control installed, and you can see the 4.7k resistor, the 0.1 on the pot there. We've got the 18k now instead of the 22, got the 82k there instead of the 8.2k, sorry, 820 ohms it was, it's now 82k. 820 ohms is now 82k, 22 is 18, and the negative feedback tail resistor is on the pot, 4.7k. Right, we're ready to have a listen, and I've made some more changes to the power supply, quite a few changes, the way this amp's set up now. And this Black Star power transformer is just rubbish. It's legless. When you turn this amp up, it's just not enough current to run this amp. It just end up with crossover distortion and gets flubby and saggy, and you can just see it on the scope. It's just not up to the job at all. How on earth we're running two EL34s off this, I don't know. No wonder they biased them all cold now. So we've got the Mullards in, so we're going to have a listen to those, and we'll do this just a quick demo, and then we'll look at the schematic and look at all the changes we've made. I've also added the doublier in there. I found the doublier, so I've put that in. And yeah, let's give it a go.
So you see I've got quite a nice mellow tone there going on, and you can get a really nice, a real nice thick mellow tone out of this amp. If you wallop up the treble, we get a nice, nice bright. Now that's in triode mode at the minute, and I've actually increased the attenuation from the PCF80 to the phase inverter, and I've now got a 470k grid stopper in there to try and attenuate a bit more of the blocking distortion. The overdrive isn't great on this amp because I haven't voiced it for that, but we can have a listen. We just so if we swage onto pentode mode and we crank this channel up full, this volume up full, there's only one channel, and we can have a listen now. So it's okay. It's not so bad in the mid range, but it's a bit with the coupling caps being 47 nanofarad, and we've got that 0.1 in the morph control. It does make that bottom end a bit 40 on there. But I haven't voiced it for that, to be fair. That's with all the mid out, and that's with half the mid. But when you put all the mid in, we just back a bit off there. Now, as soon as I've attenuated it, I thought we'd just stick that PCF802 in there, and by God, they get warm. You usually pull preamp tubes out, but that is warm. It's also well in the socket as well. So let's put this. Now this thing is ballistic. You can hear that compressing. Monstrous. The only trouble with this tube is you can't clean the amp up with it. Let's just go into triode mode. guitars out of tune. You can hear that is already wanting to break up. So it's just too much for the amp really. There is another tube we can put in this, which is a PCF82, which has a mu of 35. Remember that PCF80 has a mu of 20. It's a bit like a 12AU7 on the triode. But yeah, that's a bit much. But my God, by gum, there's some overdrive there. Right, so we're back on the PCF80. Now the presence control. So the presence control will only work when the master volume is full up. Because this is a post-phase inverter master volume that I've got, the presence won't work unless it's full up. So if we turn that full up, the master, now you can see that works. Presence off, presence on. This thing is just, so now I've got an incredible amount of top on there from having a really mellow sound before, and if I pull out the coil tap, really thin tone, and even if we turn the master now, turn some of the master off, still working up to there, about 3/4. You can see it's barely working at all, so it only works when that's full up. If you want to get yourself a thinner tone, a bit brighter, then that's the way to set it up, I suppose. And so on. So yes, you can see it's quite a versatile thing. So let's have a look at the schematic now. Enough doodling.
Right, we've got the schematic here printed out, so we'll go through it. We've got 1 meg grid leak on the input, 33k grid stopper, 3.3k cathode resistor and a 22 microfarad bypass cap, 100k plate resistor. That's the triode of the PCF80. We've got the tone stack here, usual deal. We got that from the deluxe reverb, going into the volume, out of the volume into the 33k, 100k plate resistor, 470k feed resistor, 3.3k cathode resistor and a 22 bypass cap there, 22 microfarad. That's for the pentode section of the PCF80. We've got the morph control here, so you can see we've got 100 nanofarad and 22 nanofarad there, and then coming out of there, the pentode, we've got 47 nanofarad, 1 nanofarad, which is part of the phase inverter circuit there. This is the phase inverter circuit here. We've got our phase inverter tail resistor. We dropped that to 18k from 22 as part of our presence control project. 4.7k on the presence control, that's the negative feedback tail resistor, was 47 ohms, 4.7k. 820s, 82k there. For the negative feedback, you can see that going up to the transformer there. So 82k plate resistor, 100k plate resistor there on the phase inverter, 47 picofarad snubber capacitor on the phase inverter there. And then we've got 47 nanofarad going into each tube. We've got the dual gang pot here and here, and we've got 470k grid leaks, 10k grid stoppers. We've changed those from 1.5k. 820 ohms cathode resistor. Got 2 of those, 1 for each tube, and a 470 microfarad bypass cap on each of those. So these have been changed as part of this power supply change that I've done. And 2.2k screen resistor there, 3k now instead of 10k on there on the power supply, and 2.7 has been changed to 2.2. so those are the changes on the power supply. And I've not put a power transformer on here or anything. The output transformer is just a rough sketch really, because obviously if you're doing this, assume you'll be using your own transformers on this. I've not put no voltages on, because obviously if you're using your own transformers, all your voltages will be different. But if you download the data sheets for the tubes, it gives you your limiting values and things you can work with. So that's it really. We all seem to be done with this project now. It does need a better power transformer. Can't crank this amp up to number 10. You can get it up about 3/4, and that's fine really. I've kind of gone through on the scope and found where all its limitations are in all the settings, with either with the master volume full up or the gains full up and the master down. So I've gone through everything. Triode mode really, pentode mode, sorry, really thrapes it. So this, as I say, this transformer is, and it is quite hot. It really is. It's rubbish. The Mullard tubes sound great. Do they sound better than the Mazdas? No. There's really no difference between them as such. I just kind of subconsciously prefer the Mazdas. Maybe that's because I started with those. So I'm probably going to put the Mazdas back in. But these still sound great. You know, they sound awesome. So that's it really. That's project done finally. There may be other videos on this. We may change this transformer, this power transformer, at some point, and
then if we do that, there will be another video. But this amp is ballistically loud. I don't even need to turn this amp up full really, so you know, I'll manage with this transformer for the time being. I can't see me playing any massive venues, and if I do, I'll just take a 50 watt amp or something. So yeah, that'll do it for this one. So thanks for watching. You all take care, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye for now.